All right, NATO leaders are in Brussels discussing global security challenges. Meanwhile, they've issued a stern warning to Russia, saying Moscow needs to destroy its short-range nuclear-capable cruise missile systems, or that the alliance would be, quote, forced to respond. Joining us to discuss, former UK MP George Galloway. So, George, the NATO bosses are referring, of course, to the 1987 INF treaty between the U.S. and Russia. They say Russia has deployed them at locations which threaten Europe. Let's take a listen to NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg.
The deployment of the SC-8, the Russian missiles, is a very serious issue, because these missiles are capable of carrying nuclear warheads. They can reach European cities within minutes. They are hard to detect, mobile, and therefore also they reduce the warning time and also the threshold of any potential use of nuclear weapons in an armed conflict. And these new missiles, the new Russian missiles, they violate the INF Treaty, which has been a cornerstone for arms control for decades. And that's the reason why it is so extremely serious that Russia is deploying new missiles in clear violation of this treaty, putting the whole treaty in jeopardy.
George, what do you think about that? Is Russia really a threat to Europe?
Well, it's Alice through the looking glass. I mean, it's Kafkaesque. The United States withdrew from the INF, and now we've got the US-led NATO war front complaining about a potential breach of the INF that its leader has just wrecked. It's like the United States government complaining about uranium enrichment in Iran, which is happening because the United States withdrew from the agreement that stopped it happening. You really couldn't make this up. First of all, these missiles are capable of carrying nuclear warheads, but they're not carrying nuclear warheads. And of course, short-range, so-called battlefield nuclear weapons are a dangerous thing. And that's why we banned them under the INF treatment, because they reduce the threshold of nuclear confrontation, and they encourage the madness that you can have a limited nuclear war just in this country and just on that battlefield. That's why we needed to control the proliferation in the Reagan era of the deployment of short-range and intermediate-range nuclear missiles. That's why we shouldn't have broke up the INF in the first place. But actually, it's NATO that has its military bases pointing at Russia, not Russia that has its bases pointing at NATO. That's kind of a key point, Manila.
Also a key point that NATO continues to expand around Russia's border, which is in direct conflict with what the agreement originally agreed upon.
Yeah.
Yes, they agreed that they wouldn't be on Russia's border, but here they are. You know, you fast forward 30 some odd years, and this is what happens. So, George, Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov, he responded to this. He said this reeks. Those are his words. This reeks of NATO propaganda. Do you agree? Do you think this is just NATO posturing?
Yes, I mean, these people have all got to keep themselves in a job, of course. There's a lot of money involved in arms expenditure, military deployments for the officers, the former officers, former retired ministers of defense and so on. It's a big jamboree. The problem is, as the First World War showed, when you mobilize and deploy military force and power, an ineluctable logic arises, which can easily, by accident or by foolish design, lead to the very confrontation that you say your alliance is supposed to be trying to stop from happening. And I fear, I must say, I've known a lot of people who have been in the top brass of NATO. And I'll tell you this, they don't half frighten me.
And George, The U.S. is obviously the lead big spender here on NATO. Some 3.5% of U.S. GDP goes there. They had threatened to leave the INF Treaty in the first place, and then the same when Trump pulled the U.S. out of the JCPOA, which you correctly pointed out.
Exactly.
Why isn't NATO addressing the U.S. for its role in dumping the INF first?
Yes, I mean, that's why I said, Alice, through the looking glass, words mean exactly what I decide that they will mean. The United States breaks the treaty. Russia is then blamed for the consequences. And yet the American brass are sitting there. The American government is the lead government in NATO. So look, if everyone's worried about the deployment of short-range battlefield nuclear weapons, let's scrap the scrapping of the INF. Let's go back to the status quo ante, which forbid the deployment of these weapons for these last decades. Gorbachev and Reagan went for a walk in the woods and they solved the matter. Donald Trump really needs to look at that video.
Yeah, imagine that. Stick by your word and stay in treaties, and the world would be a better place for it. As always, appreciate your insight on this. George Galloway, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this.
Alright, Brakataya Howard, Brakataya Howard Shai, Brakataya Howard, Brakataya Howard Shai, Brakataya Howard, Brakataya Howard Shai, Call Halayim Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai, Ba'Shem HaKadosh, double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone who taught us the truth. Honors and salutations to all sincere Hakim, to all four corners of the world, pushing the truth and honesty, sincerity, charity, and sound doctrine. All right? To the Akwatim and to the children that believe in the true name of the Father and the Son, which the Father's name is Yahweh. He exists. The Son's name is Yahweh Shah. He is the deliverer. All right? Because he's going to deliver us out of this captivity. My name is Maka Allah Bun Gab and Yasser Allah with the Watchman Philadelphia camp. You know? And I just wanna Shalakia. Try and find a scripture real fast, just bear with me. Cause they trying to basically, matter of fact, let's go to this. Bear with me. But I basically, with America, NATO, because you heard what they said in the video, that NATO is trying to, cut out, they're trying to cut out Russia. All right. And Russia is right now they're playing like the world police and all that, you know. So they can't stop prophecy, because as the scriptures say, that it's just, I was trying to find a scripture where it says the foot of the bear, you know. I believe that might be in Daniel, if I'm not mistaken, but the foot means the end of something. All right. So Russia's going to be basically like the end, to America, man. Like, they're going to get shit popping. That's why they're backing everybody that America has problems with, slapping sanctions on. Russia not going for that shit. But real quick, man, this is out of the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38. And this is what's playing out right now, man. All right, we're going to start at verse 1. Shalakia. It's my alarm. It says, "In the word of Yahweh Shah came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech, and Tubal, and prophesy against him. And say, Thus saith Yahweh Shah, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal." So, yo, man, you see that, man. All right. Even though that Russia's going to be the police of the world right now, Yahweh Shah is against them too, man. All right. Yahweh Shah is still against Russia, man. All right, and that's where you get to Gog and Magog and all that. All right, that's talking about the what's that? Russia and the USSR, which are still over there. But Russia right now, like, they're backing everybody. But at the end of the day, Yahweh Shah is still against them. All right, it says, "And I will turn," check it out, verse 4, it says, "And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine enemies, Salaki, and all thy army, horses, and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and Salaki unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them." All right, so that's what I said. Russia's basically being a police of the world right now, but hey, Yahweh Shah is still against them. That's why you got America. America's trying to upset prophecy because, these elites know that these things are supposed to take place. And they're trying to upset prophecy by trying to take Russia out of the equation, which, they're not going to be able to do. All right. And with that, man, I hope that this lesson was edifying. And they're not going to be able to stop Russia, man. They're not going to be able to stop Russia. So they could try all that, let's unarm them or tell them to unarm the missiles. Matter of fact, real quick, man, I'm going to deal with that, man. With that, I'm going to say all praise to Yahweh B'Shem Shah, B'Shem Chakodas, the B'Anas, the Apostles, the great millstone, to us is true, final salutations, to us is Akim, to all four corners of the earth, laboring in honesty, sincerity, charity, and sound doctrine. All right, to the Hakwatim, and to the children that believe on the true name of the Father and the Son. All right, and death to America. Shalom.